IMDb. Is it useful? Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife, Brooke. And now on to our topic. Is IMDb useful? I've noticed some actors recently asking about the usefulness of IMDb. There are even some rumors going around about its importance in your career as an actor, so today I want to address some of those issues. And please note that I'm speaking as a veteran actor from the southeastern US market, so some of the nuances I may cover may be different for you in your market. You may need to do additional research to get the answers that apply to your situation. Okay, let's jump in. Is it necessary at all? It would be very harsh for me to say, no, it's of no use at all. Because first of all, as a lover of movies and television, I use it all the time to look up that girl in that thing. And as an actor, it's nice to have a public, verified resource showing all of my acting credits. Now, in the early days, before Amazon bought them, it made a lot more sense to have an actual account with IMDb. Because if I remember correctly, it was a couple decades ago, you could actually originally upload a photo for free, although maybe not be able to curate your bio or add additional photos or video. Because at one point they had a sort of entry-level membership that was like $25 a year or something that allowed you to upload one, maybe 2 or 3 photos, and not much else, but for 90% of actors, that's all they want to do. And then somewhere along the way, Amazon bought them, and flash forward to today, and you have to pay more than an Amazon Prime membership just to be an IMDb Pro member. Which leads me to the next topic. Should you go pro? Now, let me say right away that if you're a SAG-AFTRA member, there is a substantial discount code that you can get through the SAG-AFTRA website, so please do not join IMDb Pro until you use that discount. Aside from that, let me just be honest. As an actor, it is not at all justified, the cost, that is. To pay more for a Pro membership than you do for Amazon Prime is unconscionable. Because 90% of actors, again, speaking from the standpoint of the southeastern US, will only use this to upload a few photos and maybe a demo reel and maybe curate their bio. And so if Amazon had a conscience, they would reinstate the low-tier membership that would allow actors to do just that. But since IMDb has no real competition in this space, they set the standard. And so we, the lowly actors, are left with the tough decision as to whether or not to leave your profile empty, devoid of a photo, that is, and reels and such, or to cough up all of this extra dough just to have a bio, a couple photos, and a demo reel. Now, for that other percentage of actors who do want to try to get their money's worth, there are some interesting resources in the pro side of the membership. For instance, extra information on production companies and managers and who they represent, casting directors, etc. So if, for instance, you're trying to target a new manager, you can look them up on IMDb Pro and see how many people they represent already in your category. Because if they already represent a bunch of people that look like you probably shouldn't target that manager. And I'm sure there's other ways actors have discovered that IMDb Pro can be useful. If that's you, please drop a comment below so that you can educate all of us. But wait, I haven't even talked about one of the most important aspects of whether or not IMDb is worth it. And that is, does casting even care? In the end, we're all trying to just curate our public, professional brand as actors, right? That's why we get suckered into paying this pro membership to begin with. We think that we need to have an updated headshot or headshots, demo reel, and that curated bio. Essentially, just a more public version of our Actors Access profile. But do casting directors look at IMDb as part of the casting process? Well, it's hard to give a blanket answer to that question, so I'll just speak again from my Southeastern experience. After 2 decades of listening to casting directors talk at Q&As and developing personal relationships with most of them, I can say no. Casting, at least regional casting directors here in the Southeast, and the ones I've heard on Clubhouse and Instagram Live from New York and LA, do not use IMDb to weed out actors during the process or to decide between their final selections on who they're going to cast or to seek out new talent. In fact, after all of those conversations over the years, the only real reason I can think of that a casting director would troll your IMDb page is if your other profiles, like your Actors Access profile, was incomplete and they're searching more information. Perhaps your resume looked beefy, but they don't recognize all those titles, so they go to IMDb to get a little bit more context on those lead roles that you have listed. But honestly, that's a rare case. Your agent or manager should be pitching you at the first stage of the casting process, so IMDb shouldn't really even factor in, because your agent should have all the relevant information and materials to support that pitch. And after you've submitted your tape, well, your performance should be speaking for itself. And again, casting should already have access to all the relevant materials that they need. They don't need IMDb to make their decision, and they certainly do not care about your star meter. Ugh, it's useless. Full stop. It's just another metric created to make actors feel self-conscious about their own worth. But somehow, rumors still persist that your star meter has some sort of effect on your career. To which my rebuttal is, think about it this way. If your star meter is high enough to actually make a difference, wouldn't you think they already know who you are? Because you couldn't get to that high of a star meter level unless either A, you're hacking the system and paying for people to click on your profile, or B, you are in the public eye. You are becoming popular. You might even be on the cusp of celebrity status, and they don't need to look at your star meter to know that. So please don't ever obsess over the star meter. Ever. It's stupid. All right, let's shift gears. Curating your page. The last topic that I want to cover is about making sure your page is accurate. Since the world uses this website as a resource, then we should make sure it's an accurate resource. So I do condone making sure your page is an accurate reflection of your career. If you booked a speaking role in that TV show or film and it's not showing up on the appropriate IMDb page, well, then you should submit a correction request. But let me emphasize, you should do this after that production has released, after it has aired. For instance, I was in a movie not too long ago that before we even started shooting, all of the stars and the main cast members had been put up on IMDb, but not me. Flash forward a few months after we had wrapped, I still wasn't up on the page. Should I submit myself? No, because my character has a pivotal role in the film, and it's in the genre of psychological thriller / horror, so I could actually give away a plot point if I submitted my role to IMDb and they, God forbid, actually published it. Instead, I wait to see when the movie comes out in theaters or on streaming, and then, and only then, if my credit doesn't appear, then I'll submit a correction. Because remember, nowadays, you signed an NDA when you got to set on day one that was pretty comprehensive and likely said things like, you cannot post about this production without the expressed written consent of the PR department. You cannot write about it or do interviews about this production without, again, consent from the production until it's aired. Sometimes they even say until 48 hours after it's aired. So be careful about trying to submit your role ahead of time before the production has even released. Now, if you were incorrectly credited, like you were credited as a stunt person even though you were just an actor, or they put you under the crew, or they left you off altogether and the production has already aired, then yes, please submit a correction request for that as well. Just beware that if you're new to IMDb, that request may take a while and they may follow up with a request of their own for additional evidence to support your request. It's too many requests in the same sentence. The more you contribute to the database, like I've been doing for 20 years, the faster you'll see results. So if I submit a request for a correction, it usually happens in 24 hours. But that's just because I've been a contributor for over 20 years. Oh, and if you were an extra on a production, you're technically not considered part of cast. It's not an insult, it's just the name they give to the different departments in a production. And so you shouldn't technically be submitting yourself to IMDb as part of the cast. If you do, they will end up putting you as uncredited in parentheses. So just know that everyone in the business knows that if you have an IMDb page full of uncredited roles, they know that those are all extra roles. And that just muddies the water, because you could actually have a speaking role and just not get appropriately credited in the actual credits of the film itself. And so then IMDb can't independently verify that you were in that production, so then they just put you as uncredited. So really, the parenthetical uncredited should just represent an actor who did book it, but didn't get appropriately credited in the film. And it should not really represent the fact that you were an extra on the production. That said, Everyone does it, so I don't think that'll change anytime soon. And one last tidbit. If you add your birth date to IMDb when you set up your profile, you can never delete it, ever. In fact, there was a lawsuit in California where a girl was trying to get her birthday taken off a website. I think it was actually IMDb, and she was unsuccessful. IMDb wants to be the perfect and comprehensive database of all information related to this industry. And so if you submit information, you can submit to correct it, but you cannot have it removed when it comes to things like birth date. So don't enter it if you don't want it to be public. Likewise, if a production tagged you in a photo from the production or a video like a trailer, you can't have that removed from your profile because they posted it, not you. When you post your own photos and videos, then you can hide or delete those subsequently. Whew, that was a lot of information on a tool that is actually not that essential to your toolbox. If you have the financial margins and the desire to curate your page, then go for it. No harm, no foul. In full disclosure, I do pay for an IMDb Pro membership. Just please do not approach it from a fear-based mentality. Too many actors walk through their careers full of fear, and that's just not the way to live, period. Just focus on your training. As Steve Martin said, be so good they can't ignore you. As always, if you have comments or questions, leave them below. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.